It's lunchtime, everyone's buggered off. I've charged up the GoPro, so we should have good audio, and I can go through about GVM upgrades and axle group or axle load limits, because I don't think this is widely understood in our little Y62 community. So what better time to go through it? So there's no fancy editing. There's going to be one take. I'm going to do the lot, but hopefully if you walk into 4x4 DNA, I'll go through this with you on paper, but otherwise we can watch this video. Alright, your Y62 Patrol, you've just bought one, and I swear everyone that buys a new Patrol buys a new Caravan at the same time, and have to work out how much accessories they can fit to the car, because everyone wants a bull bar and suspension and things like that. So we have to start thinking about our GVM upgrades. So if we talk about what the GVM of the car is, so that's how much the whole car can weigh. It's 3.5 tonne. 3500. Excuse me for using our whiteboard for planning jobs, but it's just the easiest way to do this. So that's how much you can load your car up. There is, however, an axle group limit. So this is how much you can put on the front and rear axles that Nissan have deemed is like the maximum of 3680. So you can get an extra 180 kilograms by going up to the axle group limit. It has to be engineered to do this, but I'll explain what that means. Axle group limit. So is basically we're going to get an extra 180 kilos. 180. Now, the amount of time people have said to me, oh, probably just an extra 180 kilos would just save me. By the time I put my family in the car and their goods and the fridge and some beer and that sort of thing, put the tow ball on, you're actually at 3.5 tonnes. So unless your kids aren't going to get any bigger, you're going to have to sort of do something about this. And they'll say, oh, 180 kilos, that would do it for me. But it's not as simple as that, because it depends what you can put on the front axle and on the rear axle. And of course, when your van goes on the rear axle, that's kind of where all the weight goes. So now your axle limit for the front is 1,650 kilos. For the rear, it's the remaining. It's basically 3,680 less 1,650, which is 2,030 kilograms. So when you go and put your car on the scales, the front wheels on the scales only, can't be more than 1,650. Go and put the rear wheels over the scales, can't be more than 2,030. Got it? Good. So it's 180 kilos. You have to get it engineered in your given state, or our guy that does it here, he's accredited in all the other states, but you just have to tell us which state you're registered in and we can do it. The next step, people that want 300 kilogram. So the parts required, by the way, for this is just rear coils. That's it. You're probably going to do airbags at the same time, but to get an extra 180 kilos, you just have to change something, essentially. So we change the rear coils. Next level to get your 300 kilos is the on-track billet rear lower control arms, because we found that that's basically the weak point in these Y62s. If you put too much weight on there, they fold. I should have been good and got one to show you, because we've got a few of them around here that customers have come to us with broken ones. So we have to strengthen it, not just for a legal sense, but because you don't want to get stuck out bush with one wheel pointing that way and one wheel pointing that way. Right, so now our target is to get 300 kilos. What does this mean for your axle limits though? Because it's not like evenly split. Your front axle remains at 1650, and of course it does, because we haven't changed anything. Everything that's changed is at the back. So at the back we need at least some sort of a coil change, so it can be like a King standard height coil, or it can be a lifted coil, plus the on-track billet rear arms, and now all the 300 goes on the back. And to be honest, that's probably where you need it. It's expensive, those aren't billet aluminium, or aluminium prices aren't getting any cheaper, so it's not cheap to do. The engineering component is the same throughout, but you know, for probably going to be $5 or so, you can get up to this 300 kilo limit, and all of that weight can go on your tow ball now, which is fantastic. Now, there is a third type of GVM upgrade, and a common question is, do I do this pre-registration or post-registration? So all of this that I'm talking about today is post-registration. The pre-registration one, you have to be a second stage manufacturer. So that means all the liability comes off of Nissan, goes to someone like DMW up there in Queensland, and they can do a pre-reg GVM upgrade. That's totally different to what I'm talking about here. So 585. Those who've been around Y62s for a bit and done your research, you'll know that there's a kit available which changes the front lower control arm. It's got a modified bracket which gives it the lift. So these two, you could have standard height or you could have a lifted car. This one, it has to be lifted. It's a condition of it, so you have to lift the front by 50 millimeters. And on that lower control arm, there's a stamp put on there saying this is an engineered part. And now, any liability, if there is ever an issue, which hasn't been, it goes back to the engineering report and the manufacturer, which is on track, about that component. But because they've done all that, this is the only way you can increase the front axle limit. So you get an extra 100 kilos, so you can go up to 1750. Why would you need that? So someone's got a heavy ARB bar, worn winch, maybe they've got a supercharger on the front, spotlights, extra batteries. My old car went over that 1650 front axle limit. It's not that hard to do, especially if you've got all this stuff, rooftop 10, you know, all the weight on your car. So 1750 here, and the remaining, the 585 that you've got, can go onto the back axle, or the it actually works out to 305, which is kind of a bit funny. So on the back, you end up getting 2335 kg. So when you go and put your car on the scales, put the back of it, it can't weigh more than that, with the tow ball on, and your family and your gear and everything like that. Now, to do this, as I said, it has to be lifted, so we're going to change the rear coils and the billet lower arms at the back. To get to be able to handle this extra 585 kilos, for engineering requirements, we have to put a stiffer spring in. It has to, at minimum, be a 200 constant rear spring or a 400 constant rear spring that we use from Old Man Emu. If we put that into your car and it doesn't have the weight, it doesn't have 200 or 400 kilos on it, so for example, either a long range tank or maybe a Razzler rear bar, that would be a way to quickly get, you know, a few hundred kilos. Or both, then you'd be looking at the 400 kilo spring. If you don't have that weight, it's going to end up being like a 3 or 4 inch lift, and then you won't get wheel alignment. It'll suck in like this, and as soon as it goes over 50 millimeters, in most states it won't be, the engineer won't let it pass anyway. So you have to have a coil in the back to match the spring, to match the weight which is going in the back. So if you're targeting 585, you have to have a rear bar, or you have to have a long range tank. You have to have at least 200 kilos of constant bolted mass on that vehicle. Otherwise, it's going to be too high and the engineer won't pass it off. So it doesn't mean 200 kilos worth of tools, 200 kilos worth of beer. It doesn't mean your tow ball 200 kilograms. All of that is unbolted mass, and that is fixed with airbags. And if you watch any of my videos, you'll know now that pretty much there's only one airbag that works with these, and it's the jumbo airbag man ones, because they're the taller ones. It's just kind of, we've dropped everything else now and we just use that. But any unbolted mass, we use airbags for. Got it? So when you come to me and say, oh, David, I want to get a GVM upgrade, I say, yep, no worries, we can do that. Tell me, give me a bit of an indication of what weights you've got in your car, what your tow ball weight is. So not how heavy your caravan is, what your tow ball weight is, and then we can start to add up how much you need. And we'll go through a little exercise on paper and try and work it out for you. This video is to try and give you an introduction to that conversation that you'll have with me, so I can help guide you on getting the right type of GVM upgrade for what your requirements are. If you don't want to add a rear bar and you don't want to add long range tank, go for that one or that one. If you're planning on it, then you might as well go for that one. Anyway, I hope that makes sense, because the GVM stuff is often misunderstood. Any question you've got, please don't message me. I'm not taking Facebook messages at the moment, but you can put them in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them there for you. Bonus extra bit, because I forgot to talk about this, your caravan and how much it weighs. If you get an extra 180 kilos, your Nissan GCM for your patrol is 7 tonne. Means if you don't touch your car or do anything about the GVM, you can have a car weighing up to 3.5 tonne and a caravan weighing up to 3.5 tonne. As soon as you get 180 kilos, really, if you're going to use it all, you should be planning on taking that off the weight of your caravan. So instead of, so this is going to go up to 3,680. So it has to come off the other side, and I've got to do some quick math here. What's that? 3.5, 3, 4, 3, 3. 3.32 tonne. This one, you're going to add 300 kilos off. So now you can only tow a 3.2 tonne caravan. And this one, I'm not going to work it out with quick maths because I make a mistake. But you've got to take 585 off your 3 tonne. 2, 9, 85 is it? I don't know, whatever it is. So you can't, just because the brochure says you can tow 3.5, you can't. You've got to take the 585 off of that potentially. Now I'll sign off. So thanks for watching. We've got Bendelby Rangers trip coming up this weekend. We've got part 2 of the Emu Wings. So lots more to watch and keep you guys occupied. Thank you for watching. See you next week. Yeah.